Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Hannah Alexander, and as it is still January, I think it's okay for me to still be talking about last year. So in this video I'm just going to do a little rundown of all of the games I played last year, the TV shows that I watched, any movies that I saw that I didn't watch in the cinema, either because they weren't new and I just watched them for the first time, or because I just didn't get around to going to the cinema to see them and watch them at home. And also, if you wait till the end of this video, you will see some embarrassing things that I will talk about from last year. This video is going to be a little bit different. I usually completely script all of my videos because it's easier for me to talk about my thoughts on a film, because I often just do my thoughts on movies. It's easier for me to do that if I've written everything down and can just go point by point of what I thought about it. But because this isn't really me talking in depth about anything, I'm just freeballing it, and we'll see how that goes. Because in my last video I did a full ranking of all the movies that I watched in the cinema last year, I won't be mentioning those in this video. So let's start with video games. The first video game that I played for the first time last year was Hogwarts Legacy. Now, this game was amazing. The campaign was so good, side quests amazing. Were they called quests? They were called quests, weren't they? In my opinion, there was too much. And I know that sounds silly because it was £80 and you want as much content as possible in that game. But there was just too many collectibles, and the fact that I can't get to 100% on achievements on that game because it's still bugged as well. So there's one field guide page that I can't get, even though I've already got it. It hasn't registered me getting it, so I can't get that achievement, and that is really bothersome for me. So I don't know if they fixed it and I can go back and play the whole game again, but I've already played the campaign through twice, so I don't really want to go and, I know I have to play it to at least a map chamber on the next two houses that I've got to do, which is Gryffindor and Slytherin, but the idea of actually trying to do the whole campaign again and then getting all the collectibles again is too much of a task for me. So that's really frustrating. But other than that, I really liked the game and it was just so visually pleasing. And as someone who loves Harry Potter, I know I shouldn't really love Harry Potter anymore, but I do. I love it. I've got tattoos of it. It was amazing just to be put into that world and to explore all the Highlands and explore the castle. I loved it. It was so good. Just a little bit too much. Maybe too many collectibles. Now I've got Minecraft next on the list. It's not the first time I played it. I played it a lot last year. If you watched any of my streams that I did last year when I thought I would be a streamer, which I would still like to do that, but I think I do it on YouTube instead of Twitch. Anyway, I have played Minecraft before, but me and my friend got really into Minecraft for a few months this year, and to the point where I now pay money so that she can play on the world that we have when I'm not playing. And then we haven't played it in months, but we did get really into it for, I want to say, about 4 months this year. We played Minecraft every day, sometimes for just hours on hours. I would just sit there building. It's such a therapeutic game to play that I do find that I can sit and play it for hours. The next new game that I played last year was Spider-Man 2, which of course came out in, October, was it? I can't remember. But this game was amazing. Okay, I've complained about this game quite a few times just because it was a very expensive game. Again, it was £80, and I think I completed it 100%, not achievements, because I did those the other day, the last few that I had to get because I just got frustrated with it, but I completed the game to 100% in about 36 hours, and in my opinion that's too fast. They came out with the Friendly Neighbourhood Spider-Man app in Miles Morales and then included it in Spider-Man 2, but I feel like there was only 6 missions that were included on the Friendly Neighbourhood Spider-Man app, and they could have done so much more. I really just think the campaign, top tier, fantastic, wouldn't have wanted it any longer. The final boss, I won't talk about I won't talk about too much because, oh my god, I've never been so frustrated. I was playing it And I was playing it on friendly. Okay, so I'm not very good at playing video games. I do it for the stories, so I don't do anything too challenging. But I played on friendly, which, if you don't know, is the second easiest difficulty after Friendly Neighborhood. And I played the whole game on it. I'm actually replaying Spider-Man now, and I'm playing it on Amazing just to try and get myself into playing games on a bit of a harder level. But I played it on friendly and got to the final boss, like where you're playing as Peter against Venom. So I did the MJ bit, which is horrible because I hate playing as MJ. And I got to Peter and Venom's battle, and I did it about 6 times and just kept dying on the last bit as well, which I didn't know at the time, but I was dying on the last bit every single time. And I just rage quit. I was like, I'm not doing it. I threw my controller down. I was like, I'm leaving this. And I left it for about 2 weeks, and then eventually came back to it and swapped it to Friendly Neighborhood just to try and get through this last battle. And then so I completed that, and I was like, oh, I'm done. And then it went on, and you had to play as Miles, and I sent a message to my friend. I was like, oh, I've done it. And then I was like, I'm not done. What do you mean? Because I was so cross that I still had more to do. So in my opinion, campaign, perfect length. Wouldn't have wanted it any longer. It's just that there wasn't enough side missions, in my opinion, because in the first Spider-Man there was so much to do, like so many collectibles. In my opinion, I'm going to say that a lot in this video, aren't I? In my opinion, Spider-Man 1, Marvel's Spider-Man 2018, is the best game of all time. And let me stress this again, in my opinion, as someone who doesn't play very many video games, plays them for story, is obsessed with Spider-Man, it was perfect. Perfect amount of side missions, and then you had the DLCs come out as well. I think that game was so good, and so the fact that the second one, I almost said it again, it just didn't live up to the first one for me. The second one just, it's just because there wasn't as many collectibles, there wasn't as many side missions. I just think they could have done more. I think that they released it too early. I think if they'd have kept it another year, released it late this year, they could have added in more, and then it wouldn't have been so disappointing to finish it, because that was the problem for me. I got to the end and I just felt, I didn't feel like I'd achieved anything by completing it. I just felt disappointed that there wasn't more. But hopefully we get some good DLCs for it. I'm hoping they'll do 3 or 4, because obviously Miles Morales was supposed to be a DLC. It was just too big, so maybe they'll do 4. I'm thinking that it'll be Chameleon, Carnage, and maybe Goblin, but the way they ended that certainly feels as though it's going to be the next game, Spider-Man 3, because if you go by patterns, the DLCs for Spider-Man 1 were generally things that were covered in side missions, and so Chameleon was a side mission, Carnage was all of the fire people, the fire cultists with Wraith, so I would think that they will be the side missions, and then Goblin will be in the third one. But that's just my assumptions. The next game I have on the list is Jurassic World, the like park creator thing. I'm not gonna lie, I played this for about 2 hours after I finished Spider-Man, because I just thought I'd play something else. It was so boring. It's just not a game for me, I don't think. Next on the list is another one that I just didn't play for very long, is Power Wash Simulator. I played it for about 3 days. It was one that after I had a really stressful day at work, I straight up was like, I'm gonna go play Power Wash Simulator, and it's so relaxing. Like, it's obviously just very therapeutic to get everything clean. So that's a game that I sort of chuck on if I don't want to do anything too difficult, or like just something that soothes me. I'll put on Power Wash Simulator. And the last game that I played in 2023 before the year was out was Lego Jurassic World. Obviously not a new game, but it was on sale in December, and in the week after Christmas, so we had just over a week where we weren't working, and I just sat on my ass and played Lego Jurassic World. Just every moment I could, I was just like, I want to go play Lego Jurassic World to the point where I was dreaming about Lego Jurassic World and completed that. I want to say, oh, what was it? I think I've completed it in like 27 hours or something. And I was just, and that was over like about 3 days. I was just sat there like, yes, I love Lego. But the Lego games are one of my favourites and I just want every single one. Moving on from video games onto movies. So the first movie, not in the cinema, as I said before, none of these are ones that I watched in cinema. These are all ones that I watched at home. And the first one that I watched was Escape to Victory. I don't know what year this came out. It was something my partner wanted me to watch. It was good. It's obviously about the prisoners of war who have a football match and then escape to victory, yay. But they don't actually, so the plan is that they're going to escape during halftime, but then they decide they want to beat the prison guards instead, and then they escape afterwards. And it's got Sylvester Stallone in it, I think, and then Pele. I think we watched it just after he died, and that's why my partner wanted to put it on, because he's very into football and very into war. So that's what we watched. That was like one of the first films I watched last year. Next up was Teen Wolf the movie. Now this film I think came out in like November 2022. I just didn't get a chance to watch it, so I watched it early last year. I really like the show, particularly seasons 1 through 5, I want to say. After season 6 it's sort of, is season 6 the last series? I think it is, but it's split into 2. So season 5 is good. I think that's the one with the chimeras, and then season 6A is the like cowboys that send people into a netherworld. I don't know what it was, like nobody remembers them. And then season 6B was the weird Medusa man along with the army that want to destroy supernatural creatures. So I didn't really watch season 6. Honestly, season 4B, is it 4B? No, it's 3B, isn't it? Hang on. Alpha, Chimera, Alphas, and then Void Styles. Oh, so it's season 3B, and then I can't remember what happens in season. Oh, season 4 is Kate. This doesn't matter. I'm gonna go on this big tangent. It doesn't matter. Basically, the film just wasn't that good. It was okay. It was nice to see some of them back, but we didn't have enough Liam, in my opinion. He was only in it for like 30 seconds. I would have liked to have seen Theo, because I think Theo Rakin is one of the more interesting characters in Teen Wolf, and it would have been nice to see more of him in a redemption quality. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Just to see if he did carry on being a nice guy. And then obviously there was no Styles, and even watching it I was still, even though I watched it so late, but I tried to really avoid anything about it, I was still so hoping to see Styles in it, and it was just like, what's the point if there's no Styles, because he really is the main character. I know that the main character is Scott, but the main character is Styles. And then the fact that Derek died, I was like, if you're not going to bring it back, so I thought the reason they killed him off is because he didn't want to do anything more to do with Teen Wolf. But if you're not going to bring back the show, what was the point in his death? It felt so unnecessary to me. So the next film that I watched for the first time last year was Legend, the Tom Hardy film about the Cray twins. I know, horrifying that I'd never seen it before, but I just never sat down to watch it. So I'd seen like clips of it on like TikTok, or when people were watching it and I was sort of wandering past. But yeah, that was the first time I sat and watched it, and it was good. Like, it is worth all the hype. Is that the correct term? It was a really good film. Tom Hardy was obviously fantastic in it. I didn't know that Taron Egerton was in it, so that was a nice little surprise, because I love Taron Egerton. I think he is such an angel. Yeah, there's not really much more to say. Everybody knows about Legend. Everybody thinks it's a great film, but yeah, really good. The next one I watched was Midway, which there'll probably be, oh, I don't know actually. There might be a few war ones on here, because my partner just likes to watch them. So I watched that with him. It was obviously a very star-studded cast. It's about the Battle of Midway between Japan and America. Well, the Japanese Empire and America. Please tell me if I'm getting that wrong. I just sort of watch them and get sad when people die. Nick Jonas is in it. Lots more famous people are in it. He's just the only one that I can bring to the front of my mind right now. It was good. It's just a war film. Like, there's not much for me to say on a war film, especially as I haven't seen it since early last year. So just, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It is very good. It's very powerful, and it's just sad, as all war films are, because it was sad. So this next one, I did briefly mention in my ranking of the movies last year, and that's Red, White and Royal Blue. I didn't really speak on it because I didn't go to the cinema to see it, because it didn't have a theatrical release. It was just released onto Amazon Prime. I put it in the top tier. I can't remember what I called that now. Unreal or Unbeatable or something like that. It was my favourite film of last year, which I know sounds completely ridiculous, but when it was released, I watched it like 2 days after it released onto Prime. I watched it twice a day for about 3 weeks, sometimes 3 times a day. I'd put it on in the morning, and then I'd put something else on, because so when I work I have stuff on in the background, because otherwise I just get too distracted, because ADHD. So I'd put it on like first thing in the morning at like 9 o'clock, and then I'd watch some other stuff, and it would get to about 2 o'clock, and I'd be like, alright, I'm gonna watch it again now. And I did that every day. And then sometimes I'd put it on to go to sleep as well, because I always have sound to go to sleep. So there's not, honestly, you may think it's ridiculous, and a lot of people I know think it's ridiculous. I've told a lot of people to watch this film, and only one person has felt this, not the same way as me, because nobody can quite feel the same way as me, but she really loved it. She thought it was unreal. I say nobody, lots. I was seeing a lot of TikToks from people who were doing the same thing as me. I don't know what they put into that film, but it was just addictive. And even now, like, I'm not sick of it. I don't watch it as much anymore because it was getting a bit out of hand. But every now and again I'll be like, it's time to watch Red, White and Royal Blue. I bought the book as soon as I'd watched the film, and I read that twice in about 4 days. I read it, I was like, okay, that was really good. Read another book, and then went straight back to reading Red, White and Royal Blue. I've read multiple fan fictions on it because I just love the characters so much, and the good fan fictions keep their characters very similar to how they are in the book and the film. Oh, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Even if it's not your thing, just give it a go, because it's very funny, it's very cheesy, which I like a good cheesy romance movie. Some of the lines in it are fantastic. It's very emotional. There's a monologue that Henry gives, I want to say about 3/4 of the way through the film, maybe even more. It's in the second half of the film for sure. And it's just the way Nicholas Galitzine delivers his monologue is so gorgeous. And then Alex gives a speech very late into the film that's very heartfelt. It's just, I cannot put into words how much I loved that film. It was the best film of the year for me. I just loved it. Now here's the thing about the next ones on this list. They're all linked in the fact that after Red, White and Royal Blue, after I watched that, I got a little bit obsessed with the two actors, Taylor Zakhar Perez and Nicholas Galitzine, and proceeded to watch Taylor Zakhar Perez's entire filmography, because he doesn't have a lot, and almost all of Nicholas Galitzine's filmography. The only stuff I didn't watch was stuff that I just couldn't access because it's not on any of my streaming services. And also I couldn't rent it, which I would do because I love him. Oh, I didn't watch all of Taylor Zakhar Perez's because I haven't seen One Up, because everybody said it's crap. So I just left that one. Anyway, so the next one I watched was the next one I watched was The Kissing Booth 3. Absolute garbage. I watched The Kissing Booth 2 as well because he's in it. The reason it's not on the list is because I had seen it before and thought it was crap. I watched it again with fresh eyes zoned in on Taylor Car Perez. Still crap. Still went on to watch the third one, which is somehow even worse. Honestly, those are the worst films that Netflix have ever put out. And I know that they made the first After movie. I will stand by what I said. The Kissing Booth trilogy is abysmal. And I'm sorry if you love it. I know that will ruffle quite a few feathers because it does have some fans, including my own mother. But I think it is so terrible. So as I said, I watched a lot of these boys' movies, and the next 5 are all Nicholas Galitzine movies. He either was a main character or was in it somewhere. The first one I watched was Purple Hearts on Netflix. Not quite as terrible as The Kissing Booth, but still pretty rubbish. Somehow, so I'll mention my mother again. I do try to get her to watch the things that I get obsessed with. Got her to watch Red, White and Royal Blue. She wasn't a fan. She then watched Purple Hearts and preferred it. I have never been so let down in my life. I mean, it's not awful, but it's also not that good. I will watch him in anything because I love him now, like, a lot. I won't watch Purple Hearts again because it was rubbish. Now this one's really embarrassing. So the next one I watched that had him in was Cinderella, as in the 2021 jukebox musical with Camila Cabello and Idina Menzel and Nicholas Galitzine as Prince Charming. I watched it. It was so terrible. Like, I didn't even like Disney's Cinderella live action movie. I would rather watch that. However, because I love Nicholas Galitzine so much, I have since seen this Cinderella remake about 4 times. Just because, like, the film is so bad. The film is so bad. But Nicholas Galitzine in it is not. Like, everything he does is just so adorable. And he sings so beautifully. Like, I don't like Camila Cabello at all. Sorry if you're a fan. It's just my opinion. It's just, I just don't like her. She gives me bad vibes and I don't like her singing voice. Also, when they're singing that Am I Wrong little thing that's like a medley, and she does that really horrible run, which I'm sure you'll have seen on TikTok if you're on the same side of TikTok as me, which you're probably not, but it is the worst thing I have ever heard, and they left it in the film. Am I wrong? But I have heard that 4 times, 6 times, I can't remember how many times I've seen it, because I just keep rewatching it. I haven't watched it for a while, and at this point I probably won't watch it again because I've seen, oh, I say this, I'm gonna watch it in the next week now because I'm thinking about it, but it's only because of Nicholas Galitzine. And honestly, a lot of the time I will skip through all of the other scenes just to watch his bits because he is just amazing. Now, the next one I watched, again, as I said, all of these are Nicholas Galitzine, was so good. So it was Handsome Devil, which if you've not seen it, is on Prime. Please watch it. It's about this school in Ireland that are like religiously obsessed with rugby, and he's sort of the secondary main character. The main character is his roommate. I can't remember either of their names in it because I'm so terrible with names, but he does, his roommate, like, because they're at a boarding school, doesn't like rugby. He's the only person in the school that doesn't like rugby, and he's treated really poorly for it. But they become, and Nicholas Galitzine is new to the school and is really good at rugby, but even so they become really good friends and they like play guitar together. It's really sweet, and it's about coming to terms with your sexuality as well. It's got, what's his name, Andrew Scott Moriarty from Sherlock, you know the one, that guy from Fleabag. It's got him in it. He plays the new teacher. It's really good, really heartwarming, like such a sweet story. Can't recommend it enough. Please just watch it. I can't say the same for the next one I watched, which was High Strung. He plays an English violin player who meets a ballerina who's at this like prestigious art school. The ballerinas in the film are real ballerinas and not actors. So their acting is very, very, how do I say this in a YouTube friendly way? Adult film styling. Like it's what every time they speak, it's just it's so poor. The film was okay, like the story's kind of interesting. Nicholas Galitzine, again, top tier in it. It's just like because of the poor acting from the ballerinas, which I'm glad they chose real ballerinas because the dancing in it is fantastic. I like the violin playing in it is beautiful. Nicholas Galitzine, he learned sort of how to play violin for the film, but it's not him playing it, it's someone who is unbelievable at violin. He just learned so that he could do all the actions properly, which top tier. He also plays piano and guitar and is just so talented. Can't talk about how much I like him enough. But the film, I mean, it was okay. I'm never gonna say this film is amazing. It was funny in moments, but yeah, it was, the acting in it was certainly not the best. Then I watched The Beat Beneath My Feet, which is his first ever like acting job, and he was the main character of this film, so that tells you just how talented he is. Watch all of his filmography. The film was good. It had Luke Perry in it, Nicholas Galitzine, I think he plays a boy called Tom. He wants to be a rock star, basically. He's got some really good songs in it, one about a devil, which is really good. I just wish it was all on Spotify. It's a good film. It's very much like a real English like director. You can tell it's made in England by English people. Luke Perry is obviously not English, but everybody else is very, very English. But it was really good. It was just sometimes it just felt a bit like The Inbetweeners, but no, a good film. I don't even want to talk about this next one. Maybe I'll just skim by it really quickly. I watched Beautiful Disaster. It's a really terrible Amazon Prime movie. The only reason I watched it is because I think it was supposed to be satire. And I think it was supposed to be like making fun of After, which if you don't know, don't go looking. I watched the first one, it's terrible. I won't watch any of the others. My friend's seen them all, I think, but they are just awful. So Beautiful Disaster was also awful, but I think it was supposed to be. So in some moments, like, I found myself really laughing. It's just that I don't know if I was supposed to be. But I don't know, it was a really crap Amazon romance. I'm just hoping that it was supposed to be crap. That's how I'm looking at it, because it was. And then the only other movies that I watched last year that for the first time that weren't in cinema were Paddington and Paddington 2, which you may be surprised that I'd never seen. I knew that I would like them. I just knew I had to be in a place where I could handle them because I knew that I would cry, and boy did I cry. I watched the first one. I watched them both in December. They were part of my like December watching little Excel that I made myself because I'm autistic. So I watched the first one and I was like, oh, that was so good. It was really emotional. Like, I was crying. I texted my partner saying I am ugly crying at an effing bear, or an effing bear movie. Embarrassing. And then I watched the second one. And if you've not seen it, it is even more emotional, and texted him again saying I am ugly crying again at an effing bear movie. So yeah, it did really, really catch my heart. And then Tom Fletcher is apparently going to make the music for a musical Paddington, so looking forward to doing even more crying over this effing CGI bear. It's not even real, it is computer generated. I am an embarrassment. Moving on to TV shows. I don't watch a lot of new TV shows. I know there is lots of them. They make more every single week. I do a lot of rewatching. I actually have a list of the TV shows that I will cycle through, like a rotation. Maybe one day I'll share that with you. But I just don't want to be judged on my rotation of TV shows because these are the ones that I will religiously watch. There are a couple that aren't included just because they're too short, so I just chuck them on whenever. But yeah, so I don't watch a lot of new TV shows because I just have the same crap on all the time. But last year I actually did watch quite a few new TV shows. I was very proud of myself. That's actually what I created this list for, was to encourage myself to watch new stuff, and then I thought it'd make good for good YouTube content. So the first new TV show I watched was very early in the year. I watched The Traitors. Now, if you haven't seen this, if you're in the UK, watch it on BBC iPlayer. If you're not in the UK, they have a US and an Australian one, but they're not as good. The UK one is top tier, and if you don't know what it is, it's like the game Among Us, but with real people for lots of money. There's a big group of people, there is 3 or 4 traitors, and they have to kill every night, and then they have to get other people voted off. It's so hard to explain in a way that makes it sound interesting. You just have to watch it because it's all just mind games, and the way they turn on each other is so good. Like, to the point where when we watched this first season of The Traitors, we were a little bit late to the party. I think it came out at the end of 2022, and we watched it in about February or March. But we watched almost the entire season in one night until my partner said maybe we should get some sleep because it was 4:30 in the morning. And then we watched the rest the next day. It is so good. Please just do yourself a favour and watch that show. There's also a season 2 that's going on at the moment. Oh, so good. The second season is just as good. Please watch it. Now, I can't actually remember where this one came in because I only added it in the other day when I was talking about it and realised that I hadn't written it down. But the next one I watched, I also watched The Last of Us last year. Now, I watched... when did this come out? 2013? The game, I mean. I watched 3 people play this game, 2 of which I'm not going to mention because one of them has been outed as a crim and the second one has sort of fallen off his pedestal. I'm sure you can work out who that one is. But I watched Joe Sugg play it and he was fantastic, and then I watched him play it again before the TV show came out, just to see, because I wanted to know how similar the TV show was going to be to the source material. That's what I was looking for. Source material. And oh goodness, golly gosh, it was so good. Pedro Pascal was fantastic as Joel. I loved it. I know they're making season 2. I'm not going to watch it because I've seen the beginning of the game and I know what happens. So I'm just not going to watch season 2. I haven't even finished watching Joe play the second game because it upset me so much. But to go back to the TV show, Hannah, it was so good, and like the visuals of it, was because obviously when the game came out, at the time it was like the peak of video game quality. Like the graphics were just unreal, and then you go back and watch it and it's not that great because of the way it's gaming has developed over the last 10 years. I can't remember when the game came out. I feel like it was 2013, maybe it was 2014. Oh, take deep breaths, Hannah. Remember to breathe. But yeah, like the TV show was just so beautiful, and I really feel like they did the game justice with the show. It was just great. Like, I feel like a lot of people didn't enjoy it. They weren't fans of Bella Ramsey, who I think was fantastic. But honestly, top tier. I loved it, and that's what this video is about, my opinions. So this one's a bit odd. Also, I don't know if we started watching it last year or the year before, but I put it in anyway because it finished last year. That is The Crown. I watched this with my partner, and it's weird. I think it's the only TV show that we have started and watched all the way through together, because I think we'll start stuff and just not finish it, like multi-season stuff. Like we watched the first season of Tiger King together and then didn't watch the second season because it wasn't as good. But like this TV show, it's funny because both of us agree that it sort of like, what's the word, went downhill after season two, yeah, after Claire Foy and Matt Smith went. But we still finished it, and like the last season was good. I would have liked to have seen a bit more about the death of her sister and her mum. I feel like that was really squished into the last couple of episodes because they focused so much on Will and Kate. But, you know, maybe it's just a bit too sad to focus on, especially as we lost the Queen in 2022. So maybe they just thought it would be a bit, I don't know, a bit too close to home. I'd love to know if the royals watched it. My partner seems to think that they've said they do, but I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I'd like to know if they did watch it. I know that she watched Downton Abbey. I feel like I've heard that before, and she enjoyed that. I don't know what to say about The Crown. Like, it's obviously historical, but you don't know how much of it is really true, and I think that's my problem with it, because like you see these conversations between like two royals and you just can't take it as true because nobody else was there, so like you don't know how true any of it is. That's my only thing with The Crown, is because I know that it's sort of, a lot of it is fiction. So next on the list I've got Peaky Blinders. That's another one that me and my partner started and just didn't finish because I just lost steam. He kept saying, can we watch Peaky Blinders? And no, I don't want to. I think we stopped on season 3. I don't know, the season where Grace dies, spoiler alert, sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I left it on the list, because we didn't finish it. Because if that's on there, I might as well have put the Tudors on there, because we watched 4 episodes of that. Yeah, Peaky Blinders was good for like the first season, and then I just really lost steam, and especially we got to this season that I stopped watching it on, and we got like 2 episodes in and stopped watching it, and then we got a little bit further and then stopped watching it, and I can't be bothered with it. I don't know, it was good. I think I just sort of lost interest. Sorry if you really like Peaky Blinders, I know that it's very beloved. It's just one of those things that I really want to like, but I just find myself forcing myself to watch it. It's like Breaking Bad, I know is like a lot of people's favourite TV shows of all time. I watched like 4 episodes and I couldn't get into it. It just wasn't for me. Now this next one is so odd because it's so old. It was The Island, the Bear Grylls TV show. We watched a couple of seasons of it. I think we watched 3 seasons. We started watching the Celebrity one and turned it off. Yeah, we didn't watch all of them, but that's one of those ones that doesn't matter. It's not a story, it's like a reality show. It was just, it's so funny because we were watching it and I was really, really enjoying it. And then after a little while, I was like, this is just horrible to watch. It's something that you would think that I was bothered about, like them killing like the caimans and stuff to eat them, but I'm not so bothered about that. Like, I love animals more than anything, but if you're killing and eating your own food, it's the most environmentally friendly thing you can do. So I'm like all for people hunting for game, I think it's called, and eating it and like using all the parts. I just personally couldn't do it because I'm a wimp and I would just cry. But it was when we watched the women's series, like they had they were separate, I think. They didn't bring them together, or maybe they did, but the women had like made friends with the little piglets, and the piglets were like sleeping with them at night and trusted them, and then they killed them, and that was too much for me. I was really, really upset because it wouldn't have bothered me if they'd just seen them, killed them and eaten them. It was the fact that they let these piglets trust them and then killed them. Yeah, it was horrible. So if you're a bit like me, don't watch The Island. I have the Kardashians up next. I'm not really sure again why I left this on there. I've seen all of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like, it's absolute trash. I know it is. Just like Geordie Shore, I know that's trash and I watched a lot of that. But Keeping Up with the Kardashians was at least like quite funny and entertaining. The Kardashians I really struggled with because it sort of lost everything, as like even in the later seasons of Keeping Up, like they sort of lost everything that made them entertaining, and the Kardashians is very much like that. They're not an entertaining group anymore, and so I think I watched 1 or 2 seasons of the Kardashians and I was like, it's not funny anymore, it's not entertaining, they're just irritating, so I stopped watching that. I'm not sure why I left all of these on the list, but I did. This next one was amazing. I watched The Summer I Turned Pretty. So I hadn't seen the first season, and of course the second season came out last year and it was everywhere. I hadn't actually heard of the TV show until the second season released and everybody was talking about it on TikTok. If you want which team I'm on team Cam Cameron, because honestly I think Conrad and Jeremiah are both garbage. But also so is Belly. I think they're all just... It's funny because obviously it's written by the same person who wrote To All the Boys I Loved Before, and I love both of the boys in that. So obviously we have Peter Kravinsky, but also there was John Ambrose in the second film, and I love John Ambrose and I love Peter Kravinsky. They were like really well written boys. And also Lana, what is her name? Her name's not Lana, is that her name in real life? Oh my god, what is her name? The main character. Lara Jean is very likeable as well, but I think that To All the Boys I've Loved Before, they're all a bit... I don't want to say like negative, because they're not, they're just complicated, but I think that makes it more difficult to be like, I'm definitely I want Belly to end up with this person, because I think that none of them should end up with each other. I think they need to separate themselves, like they've grown up together. But I'm pretty sure I know what happens in season 3 because it got spoiled for me, because obviously there's a book about it, and I don't think I'm getting my way on none of them ending up together. Also, I don't particularly think that the actor who plays Conrad is very attractive. I don't think he's ugly, please don't come for me, he's just not my type. So like I can't get behind her being into Conrad, because like I am not into Conrad. But the same with Jeremiah, I don't really think he's attractive either, so I liked Cam Cameron. I am team Cam Cameron. The last 2 are Beckham, which was a limited series on Netflix, is a limited series on Netflix about David Beckham. Very good, please watch it. It's really like eye-opening on like his footballing career. Even if you don't like football, it's just really good. And then The Santa Clauses, I watched the whole first season in like a day, which was really good, like really easy just to... like you don't have to really be focused on it, which is a good sort of TV show for me. I just didn't really like the second season very much. I didn't finish it because it just didn't really have the magic, because The Santa Claus is one of my favourite Christmas films, the Tim Allen version of course. The Santa Claus 2 is okay, Santa Claus 3 is crap, but the original Santa Claus is the Tim Allen one. I mean the Santa Claus is just such a good Christmas film, and it's like got all the like Christmassy vibes and feels, and that's what the first season of The Santa Clauses had, in my opinion. And then in the second one it was just a bit like I don't know if I just didn't get enough into it, but I feel like I got like 4 episodes in and there's only like 8, so I did give it a good shot, and it just didn't do it for me, the second season. Moving on to books, I didn't read many books last year. I'll get on to why in a minute. I did a lot more reading than I did in 2022. I read 7 books last year. 3 of them were this really odd... So it's funny because it's sort of like what got me back into reading, because I got an ad on Instagram for like a... well, it might have been TikTok, but for a book that it seemed like right up my street. And so I bought the collection because it was like £7 for the book, or like £13 for all 5, but only 3 of them had been released. Very confusing, but I can't remember what the whole collection was, but the books were called The Inn on Harmony Island, The Shop Around the Corner, and The Apple Blossom Inn. They were not good. They were advertised as quite spicy books, which is like, that is the sort of thing that I like. But they just weren't in the slightest. And it was also like, it was advertised as like, my neighbour is a single dad, like it was, I can't remember exactly how it was advertised, but I was like, oh, this seemed cool. And so I read, and then I was reading it and I was just, this is not very good. And then I read the next one and I was like, this is still not very good. And I just knew, but I'd paid for all 5, so I read all 3, and I think the next one has been released, and I probably will read it because I've paid for it. But they were just sort of very much like, I don't know how, they were just boring, basically. There wasn't a lot to them, and they were very predictable. However, the next book I read was Red, White and Royal Blue, and that was, I don't want to say it's my favourite book that I read last year, because there was another one that I read. So these next 4 are all very similar. They're all gay romance fiction books. So yeah, the first one I read was Red, White and Royal Blue, which is, so basically, like, I've always been into male romance, if that's what you call it. Like, it originally started from me like shipping Drarry as a teenager, and then just snowballed from there, and that's always the fiction that I've like leaned towards. So I'm sat like proper oddly, but my legs are going dead. But yeah, so I read Red, White and Royal Blue. Fantastic book. The humour in it is top tier. It was really odd for me reading it though, because I watched the film first, and they like leave out like 4 characters in the film, so it's almost like you're reading a different story to the film, which I quite liked in a way, because it was so fresh. It was like something completely different, but still the characters that I loved, and I can see them in my head when I read, and hear their voices, and it's such a good book, like really good. Then I read, so I was looking for on TikTok for like similar vibes to Red, White and Royal Blue, and one of them that was recommended was If This Gets Out, which it was sort of spun to me as being sort of inspired by a romance between Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson, which I was very into as a teenager. Just like, not in a pushy way, not in a putting it out in the world way, but I enjoyed the idea of it. So I read that. It was a bit rubbish. No, do you know what? That's not true. It was okay. It was a decent book. It was similar to Red, White and Royal Blue in the actually no, I would say Red, White and Royal Blue was a little bit more spicy, but everything is implied. If This Gets Out, it's not even implied. It's sort of like it's about to happen and then it skips to after, which was a problem for me, because I like the fun parts, and it just didn't have any of that. But the story was okay. It's like about 2 singers in a boy band together. There's 4 of them, and they start sleeping together, but if it gets out, they'll get in trouble and they'll end the band. But their management sort of finds out really early on, and then it's I mean, read it. It's okay. It's not very expensive, and it's not very long either, so it's a decent read. Next up, I read Love, Simon. So I actually watched the film. I didn't put that on the list. I watched Love, Simon last year. Very, very good film. Very emotional. But I'll talk about the book instead, because the book and the film were very, very similar. I hate his friends. And I know that sounds a bit like, what's the word? Over exaggerated? Is that what I'm looking for? I don't know. He forgave them far too quickly. He was in the closet being blackmailed because someone in his theatre group found his private emails to someone else who was gay in the school, who they were just talking, falling in love, and he was being blackmailed, and his friends blamed him for the things that he did. And he forgave them so quick. Are you kidding me? No forgiveness. They would have been out of my life. Absolutely bloody not. How dare they blame him when he was being frigging blackmailed? Dickheads. Bad words. But you know, awful. Honestly, I was just so astounded at how quickly he forgave his friends. But other than that, great book. Him and, what did he call him in the film, in the book? I can't remember. But it was oh, Blue, yeah. It was such a lovely story, like, and then like him coming out to his family and like his dad like trying to understand. Oh, so good, really enjoyable. I can't believe it took me so long to watch it and read it, because I think the film came out in like 2018. Terrible from me. I really should have read it earlier. I know there's a TV show as well called Love, Victor. I haven't watched it, only because I just don't think it's gonna hit the same as Love, Simon, but really enjoyed. And the last book that I read last year was possibly my favourite. It was called In Memoriam, and if you haven't seen, I did a photo review of it, which was basically the original photo is a picture that I sent to my mum, which was me holding the book up with my coffee at the train station, like just as I'd started reading it. And then the last photo is the photo that I sent my mum of me finishing the book, with like tears just streaming down my face, because oh my god, was that book sad. Like so sad. So it's again gay romance, but it's World War One soldiers. So like they went to school together. I can't remember the names, Henry and something else, I think. They went to school together and they obviously fancied each other, but it was 1907, well, no, what would it have been, 1930? When was the war? 1940 to 1918, I think. So this was the war was already ongoing, so I think it was about 1915 when the book started. Oh, just honestly, the whole book is just like, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like she really this is what I mean. I don't know how to put it into words. The author just did, I think her name is Alice Wen. I don't have the book because I lent it to my mum, who still has not read it. But she just did such a good job of like not only like showing the horrors of World War One, because oh my god, but also like them having to tiptoe around the fact that they were in love with each other. If anybody found out, they'd be court-martialed because it was illegal. Like they would have been killed. So it's just such a good book. I won't spoil it, I won't tell you what happens. Just please, if you're gonna read anything or watch anything that I've spoken about today, please read that book. I haven't seen nearly enough people talking about it, and it was just so good. Like my mum gave me a really good piece of advice while I was reading it that I've sort of like held on to since, because the first time I watched Red, Bright and Royal Blue, I was working, it was just on in the background, and I regret that so much. And so I was reading this book and I was like, oh, I'll probably be finished it soon. And my mum said, don't rush. You will never be able to read this for the first time again. And I thought that was such a good piece of advice, because I do rush through things, or I'll watch things without really focusing on them. And you can only read or watch something for the first time once. So, and you don't know what effect that thing is going to have on you. Like Red, White and Royal Blue was my favourite film of the year, and I watched it for the first time. I wasn't really concentrating, and I really regret that. So I think that was a really good piece of advice from my mum, and I'd like to give that advice to you. You can only read or watch something for the first time once. So I said earlier, I didn't read a lot of books last year, and like I said, I'd get into why. The reason I didn't read many books was because I read a lot of fan fiction. So I haven't read fan fiction in years. I want to say I stopped reading fan fiction when I was 22 maybe, and I turned 28 this year, so I haven't read it in a long time, but only because like there wasn't really anything that I wanted to read. I'd sort of gone off Harry Potter. I read a lot of One Direction fan fiction when I was like a teenager, but I just didn't have anything that I wanted to read, and then I got really into Red, White and Royal Blue, so I started picking up fan fictions about them, and then because I was reading about them, I then started picking up Harry Potter fanfiction again, like dreary fanfiction. Don't come for me. I don't dislike anybody that ships Hermione or whatever. Personally, I don't think that it would have ever really worked. I just like to read people's ideas of it. Oh, and I also started reading one called Everybody Lives. I'm part way through the third book. I started reading that at like the end of last year. It's really cute. It's like his parents are still alive, like Sirius never went to Azkaban. It's a really cool reimagining. Like I'm on the third one now, and so Scabbers is a weasel instead of a rat, because I won't tell you what happens to Peter Pettigrew because it's mentioned before the books start. She's got like a little thing called Gryffindor blood, which starts the whole thing. It's so cool. So I'm partway through that. I sort of stopped to read some little, I'm gonna say romance ones, but when I say romance I mean romance. I read so I stopped to read a few of those for like First Prince and Drarry. So yeah, that's why I didn't really read a lot of books. I'm not gonna tell you the names of all of the ones that I read because I don't want to be judged. So all I'm gonna do is tell you my favourite ones, which were, and I'm only gonna tell you two. So the first one, which got me back into fan fiction, was called A Sporting Chance, and that is a First Prince one, or Red, White and Royal Blue. Very, very good. Alternate universe. They're at university in America. It's very, very spicy, so if you don't like spice, don't read it. And then the second one was a Drarry one, and it was called Always Already. Basically they go back in time to the First Wizarding War. It's very good, very entertaining, very, very funny, and it was the first one I read as well, so it was the second, but it was so annoying because like everything I've read since hasn't been quite as good as that one. But very good if you're into fan fiction, if you're into gay romance, please read those two because they're so good. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the shows that I saw last year. So I'm including the pro shot of The Legally Blonde that I watched. I won't talk about how I watched it, but I watched the pro shot of The Legally Blonde musical. Very good. And then in November, my bestie took me to see the Back to the Future musical, which was so good. Oh, it was like one of the best things I've seen on stage. Back to the Future, I don't know if I've ever said on this channel, is my favourite movie of all time. All time. It's so good. It's got those beautiful movie feels that are really hard to get. And so like, it's one of those films that I haven't overwatched because I ruin films for myself because I watch them and watch them and watch them until I can quote every word and they just don't hit the same anymore. So I want to say I've seen Back to the Future maybe 3 times because I watch it and it still gives me that beautiful magical movie feeling. That's like the same with I say the same, I mean the feels that it gives me. Back to the Future is unrivaled in my opinion. It is the best movie. But I was going to say the Homecoming trilogy, like I haven't watched those too many times, whereas like the original Spider-Man I've seen a ridiculous amount of times, because I watched it a lot as a teenager because I love Spider-Man, but I didn't want to ruin the Homecoming series for myself, so I've only seen them a few times because I like watching them and getting that lovely magical movie feeling. I don't know how to put that into any other words. But yeah, so it's just one it's that film that gives me that magical movie feeling, and then the musical was so good. Like it gave you the same thing but in real life. And the music is so good, and the guy who played Marty McFly, I was really worried because I love Michael J. Fox so much. Like, I know that a lot of people okay, tangent, but I obviously love Tom Holland a lot. Like, went through a real obsession with him, because when you're autistic you have like obsessions. But he was my obsession for a really long time, and me and my mum were watching Back to the Future probably during lockdown actually, and so I was watching him, and I turned to my mum, I was like, I had an epiphany. I was like, I have realised why I like Tom Holland so much. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, him and Michael J. Fox, same vibes. And she was like, oh my god, yeah, I know what you mean. And I was like, this is it, this explains so much, because he gives me Marty McFly vibes and I love it. So I was really worried watching the show that I wasn't going to like the guy who was playing Marty. He did such a good job. Like, he didn't try and be Michael J. Fox, he just tried to be Marty McFly, and it was just so good. If you have an opportunity, please go and watch that show, because it is just unreal. So good, loved it, top tier. I do have like a little music section, but I don't listen to a lot of new music, so all that's on here is KSI's album that he released early in the year, Niall Horan The Show, Taylor Swift's Speak Now, Taylor's version, Olivia Rodrigo Guts, which amazing, Taylor Swift 1989, Taylor's version, and then Sabrina Carpenter Fruitcake. And I've also listened to her album as well. Well, emails I can't send. I don't think I've listened to it all the way through though, because it's just in a playlist that I listen to. I just listen to a lot of Taylor Swift, that's the thing. I'm not ashamed of it. I do have a new playlist now that I've put to Sabrina Carpenter. It's called Girly Pop, and it's just like women I like to listen to. But that's the thing, I don't listen to a lot of new music because I listen to all the same music all the time, and I don't feel any shame about it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different to what I usually do, and I really struggled to get through it without having like my list or like my full-on script of things that I need to say, but I did have a list in front of me which did help me keep it so this is the thing when I don't have a script, keep it in a good order for me. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and I will see you in my next video. You are still here, welcome to the bonus embarrassment section. I don't really know what else to call it. Well, it has a name on my phone, or iPad technically is what I'm using. I'm a very emotional person, and I cry a lot and often over very silly things. Because of that, I have a list called Reasons I Cried 2023. Now, some of these are like personal, so I won't go into those, but I thought I would just, for fun, tell you some of the most embarrassing and humorous reasons I cried, starting with January 3rd, listen to the Hamilton soundtrack. I've seen Hamilton, I've listened to it a lot, but on that day I cried at It's Quiet Uptown and Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. And I still do cry at that sometimes, like, it's just embarrassing. January 9th, saw a TikTok of a girl singing like young Justin Bieber and got sad. Because I miss when he was like that. See what I mean about embarrassing? January 16th, watched a TikTok of Louis Tomlinson talking about the rest of the boys, mixed with clips of old One Direction footage. February 12th, watched Big Daddy for the first time in years. Forgot how sad that film is. February 16th, I watched Matt Smith's final Doctor Who episode, and that is, in brackets, big ugly cry. February 19th, I watched the Beauty and the Beast special, you know, the 20th anniversary, and Josh Groban sang Evermore. Didn't even know I was a Josh Groban fan. Obviously, he's very talented. Really cried at him singing Evermore. It just really hit me in my heart. I don't even cry at the song in the film. March 15th, I watched Lilo and Stitch, which I watch at least once a year, and cried at Nani begging Cobra Bubbles not to take Lilo away. This one's not so silly, but on March 24th, I watched the Glee episode, the last one that Finn is in, so I knew what was coming, and then later on is the quarterback, so I watched that on March 24th, and I didn't watch the quarterback until May 11th because I knew how much I was going to cry, and then I didn't watch any more. That's when I stopped watching Glee again. April 27th, listen to Josh Groban singing Evermore again. May 10th, couldn't think of what to get my partner for his birthday, so I had to cry. April 19th, found out cows have best friends and watched a video of a cow running to her cow best friend. August 5th, saw a TikTok of Max Greenfield, also known as Schmidt from New Girl, swapping friendship bracelets at the Eras tour. August 23rd, Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, posted a TikTok of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger singing Happy Birthday in their Tigger and Winnie the Pooh voices. Or not singing Happy Birthday, but it was a birthday tribute to Pooh in their voices. October 7th, Strictly did a Disney 100 tribute to Disney dance, so I cried at that. And November 1st, I finished Spider-Man 2, so I cried at the ending. Also, I watched Minnie Minter finish that the other day. I started watching him play it like while I was playing it, just like slightly behind me, but I just didn't finish, and so I cried again when I watched him play the finale. Oh, this is a really embarrassing one. I'm not sure I don't have to say it, but I feel like it's very funny. On November 7th, this is so odd. I should have put more context, but I just didn't. But it finally hit me that Zoe and Alfie are parents. And for some reason, I know they have a daughter, she's 2, like, and they have another, this is obviously before she had Novi, but I don't know what it was, but I must have been like something of one of Alfie's vlogs, but it just hit me, because I've been watching them since 2012, and yeah, I just cried. November 8th, if you've seen Planet Earth 3, the ostrich baby made me cry. And finally, on December 2nd, I watched Hannah Waddingham's Christmas extravaganza and cried about her talking about her mum and daughter and singing Oh Holy Night. Please let me know in the comments any of your embarrassing crying moments that you can remember, and if you're like me, make a list, because honestly, this is very funny.